2012, we got a movie called Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. And I know, technically the book came first. There's always a book. I didn't read the book, so I can't really judge if the book was any good. I will admit that I saw the title and immediately thought, what a dumb idea, that's never gonna catch on. And that's why I think I'd make a great weatherman. So yeah, the book spawned a movie adaptation, which I couldn't tell you anything that happened in it other than it featured Abe Lincoln fighting vampires. That's literally all I could tell you. That's how forgettable the movie was. But apparently in its time, it spawned a lot of knockoffs. One of which we'll be covering today, Hansel and Gretel, Witch Hunters. The story is as bare bones as you could possibly get. You know, Hansel and Gretel come to a town, they vow to kill the witches who are plaguing the town. The witches have a plan. Hansel and Gretel are convinced every witch in the universe is evil with no exceptions. Except through the course of the movie, they find out what white witches are, and white witches are the good ones, and dark witches are the bad ones, and they meet trolls who reveal that trolls actually hate witches more than humans do, blah, you know, it's like... Aside from maybe the troll, there's really nothing new here. You've seen this movie before. Maybe you haven't seen this exact movie before, but like, in the sense of a formula, you've seen this movie before. Don't even trip. On one hand, the first question that comes up after a while is, what time period is this? Because I kind of got the impression this was set in like, I don't know, like the witch trial era, so like early Plymouth maybe, you know, like the Pilgrims, like after the Pilgrims, but before the French and Indian War maybe, when the Salem witch trials was going on. So how the hell does Hansel and Gretel have like revolvers and machine guns and weaponized defibrillators and insulin in the case of Hansel? I mean, they don't call it insulin outright, but he makes a reference about how, you know, he indulged himself on a candy house and now he has to take this medicine once a day or it'll kill him or something like that. And it's like, that's insulin. Don't bullshit me. On the other hand, I have a really good feeling this was written under shut up and enjoy the fucking movie logic. Why did Hansel and Gretel have revolvers in a day and age where, you know, muskets were pretty much the golden age, golden standard? Shut up and enjoy the fucking movie, okay? It's Hansel and Gretel kicking witches' asses, being all badass, and yeah, just totally everything you thought you wanted in 2013, because that was funny back in 2013, which is, it wasn't quite lol random, but it was like, I don't know. Another thing I noticed right out the bat is all the people have like these era-appropriate accents, you know, like, I say, good sir, we believe this woman here to be a witch. This woman here shall be tried under the charges of witchcraft. And then Hansel and Gretel burst on the scene and Gretel's like, this woman is not a witch. I will prove to you, good sir, that this woman is not a witch. The accent is just jarring. It's like, are they doing that on purpose? Or can Hansel and Gretel not do the period accent in which this movie is supposed to take place? Especially Gretel. I don't know, Hansel is not exactly better, but I feel like he's at least trying by comparison, whereas Gretel's just like, whatever. The one thing I will give Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters is, whereas Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter was just weird, like, why would Abraham Lincoln fight vampires? That doesn't make sense. Is this supposed to be funny? Like, I'm not laughing. Whereas it's like that. Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters, in a way, I can actually see the logic that went into that, because Hansel and Gretel had to kill a witch when they were children. I could easily see them kind of coming to the revelation that there's more of these horrible things, and they're plaguing towns all over the world, and we should do something about this. When we grow up, we want to be the best witch hunters like no one ever was. The logic at least makes sense. At least from that standpoint. Like, everything else in this movie is just weapons-grade nonsense. In the long run, Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters is a loud, dumb action movie in a long, long line of loud, dumb action movies that desperately wishes it was Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. And to tell you the truth, while it's very obvious that's what they were going for, I've seen worse. I have seen way worse. I think the worst one of this type I have seen to this very day remains FDR, American Badass. This one is actually a pretty serviceable action movie. Bottom line, if you're looking for something deep, philosophical, something that will make you change the way you look at the Hansel and Gretel mythos, you probably want to look elsewhere. And you probably don't want to look at Gretel and Hansel either, from what I've heard. I haven't seen that one yet, but I've heard nothing but negative things about it. If you're looking for something that is dumb, mindless, full of explosions and dead witches, and doesn't really reinvent the wheel, but doesn't really try to, this is probably the movie for you. Knowing what it is and knowing the sum of its parts, there were a lot of times where I rolled my eyes and said, oh, what fucking ever, guys. But, you know, it wasn't bad. I actually kind of enjoyed this movie, despite its very obvious stupidity. Let's be honest, I'm a guy. I'm a sucker for action movies. I love the splodies. I love the action one-liners. I like the badass woman who can kick 5 guys' asses in one fight, you know, as unrealistic as you may tell me it is. I still love it. Brain off. Thoroughly enjoyed myself. 3 hats out of 4. And that's going to do it for this week's edition of It Came from Pluto TV. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring-a-ding the bell to get more notifications of new videos, and I will see you next time.